order. This is a special meeting this evening, and because of COVID-19 restrictions, our meeting tonight is being held virtually via Zoom. The council staff and myself are joining remotely, while the city administrator, Laura Smith, and city clerk, Audrey McClanahan, are at their own workspaces at City Hall. The public is invited to participate by using the instructions that were included in the City Council calendar item listed on the front page of missionks.org. Public participation will be allowed. Public participants will be allowed to make public comment through the chat feature. Please note that your comments are visible to all participants. If you wish to submit a public comment, please include your name and city of residence for the record. Everybody, please be conscientious of others trying to speak, and speak slowly and clearly. If I need to confirm something that may have been difficult to hear, I will ask for clarification. Because this is a special meeting, we only consider those items that are on the agenda this evening, and we have two. Those items are the amendment to the State of Emergency Disaster Proclamation and the resolution outlining the COVID-19 reopening plan for Mission. As we get started, I would like for everybody, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Audrey, welcome. Would you please call roll?
Yes. Schlossmacher.
Here.
Boltinghouse.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Rothrock.
Here.
Inman.
Here.
Crane.
Here.
Flora.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 1. This is the amendment to the State of Emergency Disaster Proclamation. Ms. Smith, would you please give us an update on this item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As you know, back on March 13th, the mayor issued our first emergency proclamation, State of Emergency Disaster Proclamation, which was then sort of ratified and extended by the City Council on March 18th. And then amended again on April 1st and April 15th as we've sort of moved through and responded to the COVID-19 pandemic situation. What we wanted to do this evening, so when we amended the disaster proclamation on April 15th, we really considered actions out through May 15th, which is this coming Friday. So we needed to bring back an extension or a recommendation to extend that emergency disaster proclamation further as we continue to move into reopening and recovery phases in this situation. So what we have before you tonight is really a much simplified, we've sort of been adding to all of the other disaster proclamations, so this would become part and parcel of that. But rather than try to detail all of the actions that we were taking as a city with respect to our facilities and our employees, in the actual State of Emergency and Disaster Proclamation, we've really tried to boil that down and just extend the state of emergency through July 15th. What that does is having that underlying disaster proclamation in place keeps us in a position to be eligible for potential reimbursement from FEMA if we meet all of the other criteria, both as a state and as a county, in this situation. So there's no harm to doing this, and in fact it helps protect us potentially financially to be able to recover that. So we selected July 15th, which would be your regular legislative meeting in July. And if you needed to take action and make amendments to this, if we needed to cancel it, for example, sooner than that, you would have your June meeting or other opportunities to do that. But we felt like extending through July would at least get us through what we hope would be the first couple of phases of the state's reopening plan, and then we would not need to call a special meeting, but we could discuss any modifications or termination of that proclamation at that July 15th meeting.
Does that conclude?
I should say, as we're moving into, so we didn't put all of the specific implications and impacts to city facilities and services in this, because we are asking you to consider the resolution, which details those individually and more specifically in another document.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Ken.
I would like to move that the city council to approve the extension of the City of Mission's state of emergency disaster proclamation related to COVID-19 through July 15th, 2020 to gauge the success of various reopenings and recovery plans.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Davis and a second by Councilmember Flora. Any discussion?
Just believe that this is the right thing to do at this point in time, and the flexibility it allows for us to work with between now and July 15th. I think it's justified for us to go ahead and move this.
Anyone else want to talk about this issue? All right, hearing none. Audrey, please call for the vote.
Okay. Bolton House.
Aye.
Rothrock.
Aye.
Crane.
Aye.
Inman.
Aye.
Is Thomas with us?
Aye.
Thank you. Flora.
Aye.
Schlesmucker.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried.
All right, then we will move on to item 2, a resolution outlining the COVID-19 reopening plan for Mission. Ms. Smith.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. At our last Community Development Committee meeting, staff presented some recommendations and related to reopening for city facilities, programs, and services, and solicited in quite a bit of council feedback and conversation and discussion, including some from the public who was participating in that call and that virtual meeting. Related to the staff's recommendations, we secured some consensus around those and asked for another week to take those and sort of finalize those and bring that for final adoption to the City Council. And so those recommendations that were presented last week and discussed generally are moving forward as presented last week. The probably largest exception was a desire to push in-person court dockets back from what had originally been proposed as a June 9th date to July 1st. So you see that change reflected in the matrix that was included in your packet for this evening. And so really there's a lot of information here, a lot of areas that we touch, and facilities and programs and services that we've addressed. So with that, it's probably best to just stop there and then take questions in any of the specific areas.
Mayor, do you want a motion and then have the discussion?
That would be great.
Okay, I will go ahead and make a motion to move that the city council to adopt a resolution which outlines the reopening recommendations for various city facilities, programs, and services in response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Solly.
I have a couple of questions for staff, but first I just wanted to make sure I had an understanding of how the resolution concept would work with the dates that are put in and the intersection between those dates and the mention that we will be watching the COVID-19 data trends and making our decisions on this topic. And so in my understanding and reading the memo, if staff could confirm, is that if we pass this resolution, it will give staff the discretion to move back the proposed dates if the COVID-19 data trends so indicate, but staff would not have the discretion to move the dates earlier without council input. Is that right?
Yes, I think that's generally how we have approached that, but we did not have that specific conversation last week.
I would be in favor of that approach. I just wanted to clarify that that was the case.
Mayor, I think that another clarification needs to be made. I just want to make sure that the public understands that this document pertains solely to city functions and city buildings and activities. It does not pertain to the business openings in the city. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. This is specific to city facilities, city programs, or city services. So anything on the private side would be governed by the state's recovery plan.
Great.
Yes, Hillary.
Laura, could you just speak to how thoughtfully the staff and council worked through the decision to particularly not open the aquatic center for this season as we think about the recovery for, you know, as we're moving ahead?
Yes, absolutely. I think, you know, the way we've approached this, I think both as a council and both from you as our elected leaders, has been to be very careful and cautious in looking at our ability to not only provide access to our facilities, use of our facilities, access to our programs and services as safely as we possibly can, but also in a way that maintains the quality of those programs, services, and facilities that our residents have come to expect from us. And so as we stepped through the conversations that we've had in putting the recommendations together, I think we've looked at various public health recommendations. We've been in conversation with our neighboring communities here in Northeast Johnson County, as well as throughout the metropolitan area. We've looked at the challenges. Not only do each of our facilities, as it relates to, in particular, an outdoor aquatic facility, have with respect to being able to adhere to social distancing requirements and accomplish many of the other things, we also were facing some really significant challenges in being able to staff and recruit and hire guards for our aquatic facility. And even outside of the COVID-19 situation, not sure which was the chicken and the egg, whether it was reduction in potential applicants that we were seeing for guards is because of the COVID-19 situation, or vice versa. But I think that we were having to have some very serious conversations about, even being able to maintain regular type outdoor pool areas because of the staffing limitations that we were up against. And I think part of it is both in our case in making a recommendation, and I know in many of the other communities, is that because the gating criteria can be so fluid and it's really hard to land on a specific date, that we can't just easily flip a switch and open up these facilities and be prepared again to deliver those services safely and appropriately. And so it becomes this waiting game and this guessing game about when is the right time to fill a pool. Can we get our guards certified? Can we get open? And so I think we came to the conclusion that we would not really be able to effectively do that. And in order to sort of focus our attention, particularly at the community center and the potential for that's really a lot of the things factored into our decision to make the recommendation not to open the outdoor pool for this season.
Thank you, Laura.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Solid.
the place committee center discussion or things of the consider would there be an opportunity to weigh in on those more detailed plans?
And I know the mayor asked me a similar question in a conversation before the meeting as well. And I think that's been our staff